Well, it's kept me going. Might sound like a cliche, but I'm very focused. I'm professional in my dealings with people. I'm very time conscious, punctual, and above all, it's God's grace, really, because it's not easy to be in an industry for over 28 years and still be relevant. If God is not with you and you're not doing your own bits, I don't know how you're going to maintain, that pace.
What has kept me going running my businesses is really just the satisfaction that comes from impacting people's lives. There are many times when I feel like Lumo Naturals is not doing so well, and then almost like the universe is trying to tell me something. I go somewhere and someone says, "Oh, you're Lumo, right?" and they tell me how it's helped them. Or sometimes somebody puts a comment or a 5-star review on the Google, and then I just see it and I'm like, oh wow, somebody actually experienced the salon and enjoyed it. Or even sometimes just having to really talk to the founders that I mentor, and they tell me, oh, because we've seen you run your business for this long, we know that it is possible. So really what has kept me going is the satisfaction of the results, and also how much confidence we've been able to impact in the people that come into Lumo Naturals. Because most people, when they come, they say, oh, I actually was thinking of relaxing my hair, I wanted to cut my hair. But because they find that we are able to help them through that tough process, they actually stick true to their natural beauty, which is what we are all about. So that is what has kept me going.
What has kept me going? It's really my faith and the strength, favor and grace of God. And that's been my source of strength, vision and passion. I'm also blessed with a community of helpers, champions, mentors and role models, starting with my family, my parents, my siblings, but also phenomenal mentors and phenomenal staff and team members at each of the organizations that I have birthed. I have been truly blessed by also a great community of funders who work collaboratively with us to transform the food and agriculture landscape.
The past 5 to 10 years in my industry have been very fulfilling for me. I mean, 2020, last year, was when I hosted the first ever figure eight competition, encouraging dark-skinned girls to maintain their color, because I noticed that a lot of people were changing the color of their skin without, maybe knowingly or unknowingly, not knowing the health damages that came with it. So I did it to encourage a lot of dark-skinned people like myself to maintain their color. Got to star in some very interesting movies like The Ghost and the House of Truth. The role was originally meant for a man, but the producer and the director decided to change it to a female police officer. Roti, so many interesting projects that I took part in. Fourth Republic, which was on the lady who ran for the seat of being the first female governor in her state. Never been done before. So very interesting projects and stuff here and there. Quite interesting.
So how has it been in the last 5 to 10 years? It's been a couple of things. 1, interesting. 2, challenging. 3, very exciting, because you get to find layers of yourself that you did not even know existed. One of the most challenging things is, of course, bootstrapping through starting a business. It's never difficult and it's never easy anywhere in the world, but in Nigeria it's even extremely difficult, because even though entrepreneurship is picking up now, in the last 5-10 years when I started, it wasn't such a big deal. People did not really respect you when you said that, okay, you're an entrepreneur or you own your own business, right? Also because I'm in the beauty industry, people think that being in the beauty industry means it's shallow, you don't have so much work, or you don't have so much hassles and challenges. But it's been such an interesting journey, because like I said, it exposes you to layers of yourself, and also you're able to grow through the pain. Even though ideally you would want it to be an environment that is, good for you and makes it easy for you to thrive, but regardless, it's been quite an interesting journey, growing through the process and actually building something that is sustainable and that people get impact from.
It's been an amazing 5 years, and I've seen tremendous impact and progress on the gender equity front. Women now lead in many roles. At least 4 Nigerian banks have female chairs, and we're seeing women becoming more active in a lot of spheres. That said, we still have a long way to go. McKinsey reports that it will take about 140 years for Africa to achieve gender parity. This is unacceptable to me and so many of my female and male champions.
The equality conversation is not something that started today. Right from the Beijing Women's Conference, right from the Aba Women's Riots, right from back in history when women have been viewed as second fiddle or being second to the men. Women have always asserted themselves, but over the years we've sort of relinquished that role and taken a back seat. I don't know why. So the conversation has started again, and it's a conversation that needs to be had often. We're male and female, we need each other. We cannot truly realize our full potential if one sex is down. And I'm not talking of only female. If the roles were reversed, we still wouldn't, achieve our full potential as a people, as a country, as people living in a world that is supposed to be well balanced. You educate women do so much in the family, in the corporate world, personally, in any endeavor where they truly assert themselves. They come out tops. They carry it along the society, they carry it along a community. So equality is very necessary. Equal, it's good, sounds very nice.
What's my take on the equality conversation? It's critical, it's timely, it's important. It's urgent because Africa desperately needs to close the gender gap to truly maximize the amazing potential and contributions that women have. Our continent can grow by leaps and bounds, economically, socially, and even culturally, if we enable women to achieve their highest potential by providing access to finance, resources, giving agency, and ensuring that women have their rightful place at the seat of the table at all spheres of influence, politically, economically, socially, and culturally. Now, there are few growth opportunities as I've outlined, but I'm very excited about what the future holds.
What should the future of equality, especially in Nigeria, look like? One, I want to see a very huge investment in education. I feel like it is very, very paramount, especially down in the north. The insecurity is so high, so a lot of parents are now thinking maybe my daughter doesn't have to go to school, and that just sets us about a decade back because we just got these parents to get their children to go to school. So now you're saying, okay, with the insecurity, maybe I don't need to send my daughter to the boarding school anymore. So a big investment in education would be very, very important. Secondly, I really want to see conversations around really understanding the pain of the woman. So I've seen things like Document Women. I've seen some initiatives around Elect Her, which is really good for the policy front. But I really want to see how we can bring this conversation subnational and make sure that we push it beyond social media. I feel like that is really, really important. And one last thing is I really want us to look at how we can help the women to be financially independent. I know in the last 5 years there's been conversation around women banking and a lot of grants for women, but it is still very difficult for women to access this money, and most of the time there's so much collateral and so much red tape before they can access it. I give you a classical example from the top of my head. Yesterday someone reached out to me and said she has access to some funding from her bank, but they're asking her for a huge collateral. She has collateral, but they're saying the collateral is not enough, and now she's asking me, what should I do, coach? How do I get collateral that will help me get this money, because I need it for my farming, right, for my agricultural business? And these are realities that everyday women are going through. So yes, the money is available, but how do the women have access to the money without too much red tape? How do we ensure that there's financial literacy for these women? How do we ensure that when we give a woman 1 million, we actually see the results, right? So these are things that I really want to see in the future. Like I said again, education is number one. 2, policy, especially at subnational level. And finally, how do we make sure that the women actually have financial independence and financial literacy? I believe that when we do these 3 things well, the future will definitely look brighter than it currently looks.
The future of this conversation, things are changing, whether we like it or not. We're seeing the emergence of female world leaders. We've seen Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, WTO. We've seen Kamala Harris. We've seen Amina Mohammed, UN. We've seen female prime ministers in other countries. We've seen so many female leaders coming up, showing that it's possible and it can be done. And that when we have a community of women supporting each other, it doesn't matter if you're in the US, Netherlands, you're in Cameroon or Timbuktu, as long as the voices are together, we can achieve so much more, and we can take everyone along, you know. Hillary Clinton, there's so many, Obama, Michelle Obama, Oprah, we have Tijoke Silva, Taiwo Ajayi, we have Mo Abudu, we have young ladies, you know, pushing the narrative, changing stuff. We need to continue having this conversation. Also for the girl child, it's very important that she sees herself as being able to break every stereotype, every ceiling, every limitation to actually become all that she's meant to be, her purpose.
So for my thoughts on equality, I feel like that is such a clear response, right? Which is, we still have a long way to go. When you look at the gender gap index for Nigeria, it's been on 0.6 for the last 4 years. That just tells you that even though there has been a lot of work being done on the ground, there's still so much we need to do. And I think it also comes from the policy angle, right? I was listening to the radio some time ago, and I heard that finally now Igbo daughters can actually inherit from their parents, right? I didn't even know this was a thing before, right? And this is 2021. This is the time that we're actually having these conversations. When you come down to the north, there's still conversations around people being allowed to go to work. There's still conversations around people having to push through barriers, family barriers most of the time, to actually prove their worth, right? So these are current realities. There has been some changes, and so when you look at people like Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, when you look at people like Amina Mohammed, and you look at how much stride they've actually been able to achieve, you feel like there is hope. So yes, there is hope. There's been some movement, but it is still very difficult for the common Nigerian woman, right? I give you another typical example. It's very difficult for a woman, a single woman, to rent a house, even in the states, in the nation's capital, which is Abuja, right? This is 2021. That shouldn't be happening. Whether you're single, whether you're divorced, whether you're widowed, it shouldn't be such a hassle for you to have to actually rent a home, especially if you have the income to do it and support yourself. So these are current realities that, unfortunately, in the 21st century, we're still having to grapple with. But have there been some changes? Yes, but there's a lot we need to do on the policy front in order to be able to really push this conversation forward and make it easier for the common Nigerian woman to really achieve her dreams and do as much as she's allowed to do.
When we look at the agriculture and food sector in particular, it actually is quite dismal. Female farmers generate 30% less than their male counterparts, linked to their access to inputs, access to land, and financing. Female entrepreneurs generate 60% less profits than their male counterparts. So we still have a long way to go to close the gender gap in the food and agriculture landscape, but also across the entrepreneurship landscape in Nigeria in particular, and then across Africa. We still need more women, not only in leadership positions, but in very unusual, but high impact and high profile sectors. So I have committed to challenge the status quo, and I've committed to ensure gender equity, starting with the organizations that I have birthed, but also in every organization that I have a seat at the table. I think as women, we need to demand a seat at the table. We need to push for quotas, we need to mentor young women, and we need male champions to prove that we can rise together, and that with both men and women soaring on the African continent, we can ensure a better future for our children and generations yet unborn.